All right, so today we are diving into a Reddit post that is uh, causing quite a stir online.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, so this post is all about relationship expectations. And it started when this woman, she shared her frustration about her boyfriend's wandering eye,
Mm-hmm.
shall we say, while they were out at a cafe.
Yeah, what's really interesting about this though is how this seemingly, simple situation has sparked this whole huge debate online.
Yeah.
It really brings up these questions about attraction, and boundaries and how we navigate like the visual world when we're in these committed relationships.
Right, exactly.
And the fact that this post has gotten like over 400 upvotes and almost 300 downvotes,
Wow.
it just tells you that like this is a real dilemma that like so many people relate to.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break it down, right? So the woman in the post, she was describing being at this cafe with her boyfriend and a couple of friends.
Yep.
When a group of, let's just say, very stylishly dressed women walked in.
Right.
And she even says in the post that she herself even found these women attractive. But what really bothered her was that her boyfriend just could not seem to keep his eyes off of them.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
see. So that's where like that conflict comes up for her, right?
totally.
Like she's stuck between wanting to like address this behavior,
Right.
that she sees as disrespectful,
Mm.
but then also like not wanting to come across like she's insecure or controlling.
It's that classic struggle
Yeah,
of communicating your needs without being, dramatic.
totally. And that's like the age-old question.
It is. And, the comment section of this Reddit post, it is a complete battlefield
Oh, I bet.
with just tons of different opinions. Some
Yeah.
people are like totally backing her up, validating her feelings and saying, you need to talk to your boyfriend, set some boundaries. Other people are taking kind of a middle ground. And
Yeah.
they're saying, look, it's natural to notice attractive people,
Yeah.
but you got to have some self-control.
Mm.
You're in a relationship.
Right. Like be respectful.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's this one commenter who had this interesting take.
Oh, really? What'd they say?
Inject a little humor into it.
Okay.
Like say something like, oh, honey, did you want to go introduce yourself?
Oh my gosh.
Right.
So just like calm out a little bit, but like in a lighthearted way.
Yeah, like not making it like a big, heavy,
Right.
confrontation.
Right. Just kind of like a playful jab almost.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But then you have the commenters who are on like the complete opposite side of the spectrum who are like, red flag,
Oh, no.
dump him. He's going to cheat on you. This is it. You got to end the relationship right now.
Like right then and there in the cafe.
In the cafe? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is it. Like you need to get out.
Wow. So then it's
Oh.
like, are people jumping to conclusions
I think so.
a little too quickly here?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
how much
I-
can you really tell from one, like interaction?
Right.
When you don't know the full story of the relationship.
And it is just one like snapshot in time.
Exactly. And one commenter even shared a story about their ex who not only looked at other women, but would make like inappropriate comments about them.
Ugh, that's awful.
Yeah, so that's obviously like a whole other level.
Totally.
But it reminds us that there are like all these different dynamics, and histories to every relationship.
Right. Every relationship's unique
Exactly.
and has its own like set of rules and, kind of like understandings.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets like even more interesting. Okay.
Okay, I'm listening.
This one commenter brings up the cool girl thing.
Oh, the cool girl trope. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like the whole idea that as women, we're expected to be like effortlessly cool with everything, even when it's like really bothering us.
Right, like you're not allowed to get upset or show any jealousy.
Exactly. And this commenter even cited the monologue from the movie Gone Girl, where she's like describing all these like impossible standards that women are held to.
Oh, it's so true.
Right. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because it really shows you how much society and all these gender roles, they affect how we see things like this. And it made me think, I was like, I wonder if the reaction to this post would have been different if the genders were reversed.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Right? Like, what if it was a woman checking out other men?
Yeah. Would it have been like the same level of outrage?
Yeah, exactly. Would people have been so quick to like label her, as the problem?
Totally. And it makes you wonder, like, are there double standards at play here?
It really does.
Like, are we holding men and women to different standards when it comes to like relationships and attraction?
Totally. And then like, just when I thought we like covered every possible angle of this like Reddit saga,
Yeah.
someone throws in a whole new wrinkle.
What?
What if the boyfriend has ADHD,
Oh,
which, can sometimes make it hard to like regulate your attention?
right. So like maybe he's not even intentionally like staring.
Yeah, it could be totally unintentional.
It could just be his ADHD.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's a good
But
quote.
and it really highlights how important it is to like consider individual differences and that there might be things going on that we don't even realize.
No, like underlying factors that are totally invisible to us.
Right, exactly.
This is so interesting.
Isn't it fascinating?
Like this one Reddit post has gotten us thinking about like attraction and respect and communication and societal expectations and even like, mental health and neurodiversity.
I know, right? It's like this little window into like all these different...
Like a rabbit hole
It is. It's a total rabbit hole.
of like relationship dynamics.
And we've only just begun to like scratch the surface.
I know.
Like there's so much more to unpack here.
I can't wait to hear what else comes up.
Me too.
Welcome back. It's amazing how one little Reddit post about, this guy's wandering eye can just blow up into this giant conversation about attraction and respect and all these complicated parts of relationships.
Yeah, like we opened up Pandora's box.
Totally. And we're all just sitting here trying to make sense of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth like really diving into some of these bigger questions that this whole discussion has brought up.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
So like, first of all, like attraction. Or like, is it even possible to be in a committed relationship and still be attracted to other people?
It's a good question.
Like we're human beings, right? Not robots.
Right. I mean, we're constantly surrounded by all this visual stuff, and it's totally natural to, notice someone who catches your eye.
Yeah, and I think it's like recognizing the difference between like acknowledging that someone's attractive and letting that attraction like totally distract you from your partner, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about pretending to be blind to everyone else, but it's more about understanding that attraction is a normal human thing.
Right.
And finding ways to manage it in a way that respects your relationship.
So it's kind of like being mindful of your partner's feelings
Yeah.
and choosing to prioritize your relationship even when there's temptation around.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the comments on this Reddit post were talking about like the difference between a quick glance versus like staring or like really obvious ogling.
Right. Is that like where we draw the line?
Well, it's tricky because it's not always so black and white. What might be a quick, harmless glance in one situation could be like totally inappropriate in another.
Right. It's all about context.
Yeah. And like reading the room and being sensitive to your partner.
Yeah, and if you're ever not sure if you're crossing a line, like the best thing to do is just talk to your partner.
Always a good idea.
Communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
But like these conversations can be so awkward.
Oh, tell me about it.
The woman in the post, she mentioned feeling like conflicted, because she didn't want to come across as insecure or dramatic.
Yeah, and that's a super common fear, right? We worry about seeming needy or jealous.
Right.
So we just bottle it all up instead of actually talking about it.
And that can lead to like resentment and distance.
Exactly. It just builds up over time.
Yeah, so it's almost like better to risk having an awkward conversation than to like let all that negativity fester,
Yeah, I think so, because open communication is honestly like the foundation of any healthy relationship. And it's not about attacking your partner or blaming them or anything like that. It's more about like expressing your needs and concerns in a way that opens up a dialogue.
Helps you understand each other better.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you wonder, like, did this woman ever talk to her boyfriend about this stuff before?
Right.
Like, maybe if they had a more open line of communication, this whole thing could have been avoided.
Yeah, it's like, why wait for a problem to explode,
Exactly. It's so much better to be proactive and create a space where you can both feel comfortable talking about anything.
For sure. So what about those commenters who are like ready to break up just based on this one incident? Like, is a wandering eye always a sign of something deeper going on?
That's a tough one because it really depends on the context. We don't know the whole history of this couple's relationship.
Right.
Maybe they've already had a bunch of trust issues.
Yeah.
And this was just the final straw. Or maybe it was a one-time thing and they can talk it out and move on. Yeah.
So it's not like an automatic deal breaker?
Right. It's more about understanding the motivation behind it. Like, is it a sign of disrespect? Or is he just not being mindful of her feelings?
Right.
And those are the questions that they need to figure out by talking to each other.
This whole conversation is really making me rethink some of my own assumptions about relationships. Like, I used to think that if my partner looked at someone else, it meant they weren't attracted to me anymore.
It's easy to fall into those traps of black and white thinking,
Totally.
But relationships are way more nuanced than that attraction changes. And it's completely normal to notice other people even when you're in love with your partner.
So it's not about like eliminating attraction to everyone else.
Right.
It's more about like managing it in a way that makes sense for your relationship.
Exactly. And that takes communication and respect and a willingness to see things from your partner's point of view.
Okay, so remember that comment about the cool girl thing?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that really got me thinking about how much pressure women feel to downplay their emotions and just be chill with everything.
It's so true.
Especially when it comes to stuff like this. Like, you don't want to come across as uptight or controlling.
Right. You're supposed to be cool and independent, but also agreeable and easygoing.
Exactly. And it's like these expectations totally clash, and it creates so much inner turmoil.
And it often leads to silence, you know?
Yeah.
We don't speak up because we're afraid to rock the boat.
But that silence can be really toxic for the relationship.
Definitely. So, how do we break free from all these gender roles and expectations?
Right. Like, how do we create a more authentic dynamic?
I think it starts with recognizing those limiting beliefs, and challenging them.
Right?
We have to unpack all the societal messages that tell women to suppress their feelings.
Yeah.
And we need to create relationships where both partners feel safe to express themselves without being judged.
That's the ideal, right?
Totally. Because relationships should be about authenticity and vulnerability.
For sure.
When we can be our true selves with our partners without having to play these roles, that's when real intimacy happens.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this crazy Reddit post that's got everyone talking about, attraction and respect and all the complicated stuff that comes with relationships these days.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Like, we started with this one little scenario about a boyfriend's wandering eye, and it's like opened up this whole can of worms.
Totally. We've talked about attraction and communication, the whole cool girl thing, even ADHD, like everything's on the table.
Yeah, so as we wrap up this whole discussion, what are like the key takeaways for our listeners?
Yeah, like what have we learned?
I think one of the biggest lessons is the importance of self-awareness.
Mm.
Both partners need to understand like their own boundaries and expectations and how they communicate.
Right, because what might seem like no big deal to one person could be like really hurtful to the other.
Exactly. And it's not about expecting your partner to read your mind.
Oh, yeah, that never works.
It's about having those tough conversations, to make sure you're both on the same page.
And those conversations need to happen like regularly, right?
Totally. Like relationships change and our needs change. And it's so important to keep checking in with each other so that little things don't turn into huge blowouts later on.
You know, that comment about the boyfriend possibly having ADHD really stuck with me. Like, it's a good reminder that we shouldn't judge too quickly.
Yeah, there might be stuff going on that we don't even realize.
Exactly. Like, empathy is so crucial in any relationship.
For sure. Taking the time to see things from your partner's perspective, understanding that there might be other factors at play, it can make a world of difference.
This whole deep dive has just been like a huge reminder that relationships are a two-way street.
Absolutely.
It's not about keeping score or blaming each other.
Right.
It's about working together to create something that feels good for both people.
Couldn't agree more. And, as we wrap up this whole exploration, I want to leave you with this question to think about what actually is acceptable behavior in a relationship when it comes to looking at other people.
Yeah, like where do you draw the line?
Exactly. There's no easy answer, is there? It's a conversation that every couple has to have for themselves, figuring out their own boundaries and expectations.
It's about communication and respect and creating a space where you can both be honest and vulnerable with each other.
That's the key.
And on that note, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the crazy world of relationships, make sure to subscribe to Shauna Pelage's YouTube channel and check out her podcast, Voices of the Soul, for more conversations just like this one. And until next time, keep those conversations going and those relationships thriving.